almost unlimited access to information and still less acquisition to knowledge and of knowledge. We live in an age of internet connection instantly with the world, but with uncultivated relationships with its people and little thought about their lives and problems or the shared interests we have as Walimwengu, which is Swahili for co-inhabitants of the world. Indeed, many among us have become more intimate with our machines than with each other, spend more time with them, and measure themselves by messages received and sent, text and typed, with expected brevity and appropriate emoticons. And this means that there's something. I just want to divert a minute. I know I don't have that much time, but look, I just want to divert. I mean, there is something. We always said that European does that, gets intimate with machines. But our oppressor cannot be our teacher. So let me go quickly. And this means of self-measurement that we have adopted many of us have adopted tend to make less appealing and engaging thought-through standards or regular reflection on one's identity, purpose, and direction. Thus, there's a growing tendency to prefer internet connections, mechanical and psychological, to real relations, which require more time and more involving interaction. Thus, they tend to cultivate artificial communities, often based on polarized positions and side choosing, rather than the discovery of common ground through extended dialogue and thoughtful evaluation of things offered and things embraced. Also at the heart of this creation of artificial electronic communities is the decentering of self from social community and the preoccupation with self-expression rather than self-reflection, as exemplified by the time and energy devoted to constructing and maintaining our presence and pride of place on Facebook, Twitter, and MySpace. And though we like to brag about the democratic character of the blog, we overlook who still maintains control of it, shuts out dissident voices from Al Jazeera, Cuba, or Ashada Shakur, and places on its electronic encyclopedia for world consumption its racial, religious, political, economic, and cultural interpretation of persons, people, events, and issues without any serious challenge. Now, I want you to know this is no Luddite lamentation. The Luddites, the Luddites, the Luddites were the people that saw the machines coming and threw their wooden shoes, called sabot in French, into the mechanism. And from that you get sabotage. So I'm no Luddite. I'm no Luddite lamenting about lamenting. I'm sorry, let me just read what I got. There is, of course, no Luddite this is no Luddite lamentation about the coming reign of machines and the eclipse of all that is truly human. Not at all. I think that technology can be used, but we must be conscious of how it's using us. Nor is this a digression into a discussion of the reinforcing role the internet plays in a globalization which has not ended or diminished white supremacy, but further empowers white supremacy to spread its ideas and dominance in seemingly benign and even quote-unquote positive ways. But this is a discussion offered in the context of the urgent and ongoing need for critical reflection on how we live our lives. What this technological impact means for us, others, and the whole world in terms of the health and wholeness of the world. I'm talking about people and the natural world of which we are part. In a word, my discussion, I hope, calls for a self-reflection rightfully attentive to the paradox presented by technology in its positive and negative dimension. This is especially true in the context of a culture of communication, which tends to reduce dialogue to messages rapidly conceived, sent, and responded to, and as stated above, tends to problematize, if not prevent, the time and will needed to engage in a disciplined concentration and complexity of thought and feeling on which serious self-reflection and social reflection in the African model certainly depend. This discussion is also to raise and pose an African-centered and rooted way of self-reflection, following Asante, who asks us to move beyond quick-sent messages and rapid respond to the deep thought of ancient Africans who took time to mull over in their minds issues and problems which presented themselves as worthy of depthful and extended examination. Those ancestors who did not separate self-reflection or concern for self from concern for community, and thus saw addressing the social issues, engaging issues clearly related to how the self defined and developed itself and laid the basis for its flourishing in and for community. It is a Martian conception of self-reflection posed here as both an ethical and intellectual process and obligation as noted above. To begin to discuss self-reflection, let us first see how the ancient Egyptians dealt with the concept of heart and mind. And so I term this part respect and cultivation of the ib. The ib is the ancient Egyptian word for heart and mind. The ancient Egyptian notion of and commitment to self-reflection is rooted in its conception of the ib, the heart and mind. The respect due it as a divine gift and divine presence within everyone, and our obligation not to neglect it, but to constantly cultivate it, i.e. discipline and develop it and use it well. The central faculty in Martian self-reflection and general reflection is the ib, the heart and mind. The word hati is also used for heart. In ancient Egyptian philosophical anthropology, the ib is not only the source and site of our emotion, but also of our intellect. Thus, the ib is conceived as both heart and mind, conscious and consciousness, as well as will. In other words, the ib is the source of our moral and general human sensitivity, our reasoning, and our will to act, i.e. to assert agency in our lives and world, again, in the Asantean sense of the word.